Hey everyone, on our latest Traded Black podcast, we are down in Miami Beach at the Benzinga Conference and a lot of action going on. A lot of cannabis executives that are talking about recreational going live in New Jersey this week, as well safe banking. They're thinking it could pass in this calendar year. Yes, I know you're probably tired of hearing that, but this could happen. All this and more in our latest Traded Black podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dales Report down in beautiful Miami Beach for the Benzinga Conference, and very happy to be joined Jason Wild, Chairman of TerrAscend and strategic investor in the cannabis space. Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you.
How are things?
Thanks for having me. Everything's good.
Yeah?
Everything's good. What could be wrong?
I know, exactly, right?
Beautiful, done in a beautiful place.
Last time we were at a conference, I think it was 2 years ago, and a little thing called COVID had launched about 2 weeks afterwards, but I look at this industry, it's changed so much in 2 years. However, when you look at legislation where it was 2 years ago to where we are now, it seems like the status quo. But what are some of the conversations? I know a lot of investors are still very much interested in the space, but they have fatigue. What can you say about the overall future as to where we are right now and what you think will happen for the remainder of the calendar year?
Sure. Not from a legislative perspective, or both? Everything?
Probably
business
both.
And,
Yeah.
Sure. So I think people are, they're a little exhausted or fatigued, as you said.
Slightly, yeah.
Especially if they're paying too much attention to legalization.
Yes.
Right? And I've been anybody's asked me for the last, however many years, I always tell people, like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And we don't spend a lot of our time planning the business around legalization because, who knows what's going to happen. It's like in my career as a fund investor for 20-something years, anytime I ever tried to bet on something that was going to happen, federally, from a legislative perspective, I've never made money. Sometimes you're right and you still don't even make money, which is, pretty tough. But from a business perspective, I would say that, that's probably, I think the thing that a lot of people overlook is that there was a slowdown in lots of these businesses. Like you look at the headset data or some of these others, and you see that last May or June, when people started leaving the house, and they didn't have, only time on their hands because they weren't going to work and they weren't going to, concerts and ball games and things like that. Once they got to go out of the house, they had other things to spend money on, and they had other things to do. And the fact that when you look at these states, that everything just sort of flattened out and didn't go down, I think that is actually a sign of strength
100%
of this industry. You look at like liquor store sales down huge year over year. Look at Netflix. Look at Netflix from yesterday. So all of the, there's so many Peloton. There's so many companies that were COVID haves that once, for the last year or so became COVID have-nots, right? Or once people started leaving the house. I think that it's a good sign that things just sort of flattened out and did not, while we're digesting the huge growth, that it didn't go down substantially. It's sort of like, when you look at retailers, a lot of times, if you had an event like this, that people would say to look at it on a 2-year comp.
They don't want to hear that, though, in this day and age, though, right?
Yeah, and they just want to see the growth come back. I think
100%.
we're right there.
Are you surprised at all about how much it's been retracted? Is over. Like, you look at the revenue. Yes, there has been earnings have been down, say, a little bit. I think people are a little bit spoiled because 2 years ago, if we looked at how much revenue we would be generating and we forecasted 2 years, we'd be like, wow, I'll sign up for that. But it still just blows my mind away on how much we've had pullback. In a time where, like you said, revenues continue to accelerate.
Yeah, I think it's hard. These stocks trade at whatever multiples they traded at. And then when you have where the estimates for, I would say the majority of the operators went down, say second half of last year and into the first half of this year, I just think as a stock picker and from watching, over the years, it's very hard. You essentially need the multiple to expand in order to stay in the same spot.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to start seeing that strong growth pick up. I think, over the last couple of months, the tone of the market, I would say, out there, and we're not, for TerrAscend, we're not in such a broad swath of states where where we see sort of those big trends the way, you know, some other operators that are in 20 places.
Yeah.
But in our markets, and I've heard like Boris Jordan say about for Curaleaf as well, like, you know, January wasn't great, February was a little better, March started feeling, you know, more normal again.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think April is, you know,
still strong,
this is the seasonally strong period of the year. But people get scared. They don't have enough experience, you know,
well, that's why
dealing with it.
Yeah, but it's good to obviously have conversations with you. So on that note, what would you share to retail investors? What are things that maybe you hear on a daily basis that, you know, maybe they not be aware of, that you're seeing that maybe they're not when it comes to still an investment opportunity within this space?
Yeah, I think that I think overall, now that the industry doesn't necessarily have the wind at its back the way it did, and don't get me wrong, there's still all the trends.
Don't you think that's good long term?
Yes.
Right.
So now I think it's going to come down to stock picking.
Like the real foundation is being built, right? You know what's crazy? We talk about all this, and here we are in a market where there's no legalization, and there's an entire movie story of like, you feel like you've been doing this for like decades, and here we are, and we haven't in a lot of ways really started, I think.
100%. And people, you know, all the great companies out there, people, you know, say, you know, Netflix and Apple.
Yeah.
People, you know, they all had a very long period of success, and the people that were involved early, they're like, oh man, it's too late. And then you look back, when these companies continue to do well, you look back at what you thought at the time years ago was too late, and it was really early.
I thought Amazon at $1,000, little rich.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right?
So I think I think you're totally right, and I think that.
Do you think brands like that do get involved in this space eventually?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon they came out publicly and said that they're for legalization.
Yeah.
I think it's not because they necessarily want to be in the cannabis business. They're
flirting the idea.
They need employees.
Yeah.
They can't if they have to keep drug testing everybody for cannabis, and you know, they're gonna not be able to continue to get good employees. So I think that is the reason they're doing it. I don't know that they want to get into, you know, selling weed anytime soon.
Yeah.
I hope they don't.
Jeff Bezos listening right now, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, he's too busy with his girlfriend and jetting all over the place. But
born in 1964, Jeffrey. Yeah. Anyways, what you were saying.
But back to your question on, like, in terms of going forward from here.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's good if we have some separation between companies. That it's not, you look at all these, or the vast majority of all the tickers of all the MSOs, and they've all had practically the same performance over the last couple of years.
Yes.
Not having the wind at everybody's back is going to separate, you know, the winners from the losers. You know, what's the Warren Buffett saying? You know, you don't know who's swimming without their swim trunks on until the tide goes out. I think that is, you know, happened to a certain extent over the last few months, but I think we're going to see that even more because a lot of these companies have bad balance sheets as well. A lot of them did a lot of sale leasebacks, which are long-term sappers
100%.
of your margin.
Yes.
Because you have these you're paying whatever you're paying in rent in your facility, you know, today. Well, you know, 17 years from now, when you're still stuck paying you know, rent on those leasebacks, and they have 3% escalators, your lease payments are going to be almost double, and you're probably not even going to be using that facility anymore. So I think
about that, you won't be either.
Yeah, so it's going to be, and hopefully, you know, you'll be able to finance these new buildings for, you know, single digits. So I think that things like that, balance sheet, and, you know, and just differentiation amongst companies, I think that's going to start to really shine through. And it's like, you know, all the great companies, they didn't get brought up by a whole group of, like Starbucks. Nobody was like, oh my God, Starbucks is never going to work because there weren't another 10 Starbucks-like coffee sellers, you know, like big chains. Like
he pitched that story to 242 different investors and was told no 241 times.
Exactly.
That's determination.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be some great companies that come out of this. And it's going to be because it wasn't just easy for everybody.
So when you say great companies coming out of this, I think a lot of conversation goes on about how you guys, over the last couple of years, have been hard at work. That Gage acquisition was a great acquisition. You've actually just announced that you bought 3 more dispensaries in the state of Michigan. Five? Was it 5?
We bought 6. 5 of them are operational.
Why did that make sense?
because that's what we liked about, so it became common, accepted, an accepted approach over the last year or so. Everybody's now saying, well, we only want to be in limited license states. We don't want to be in these unlimited license ones. And I think that's what created the opportunity for us, I believe, in Michigan, because
such a great state.
Everybody left. All the MSOs didn't focus on it. They left it to the local operators.
A lot, right?
It was totally overlooked because the last bear market in cannabis, that was when all these operators were like, we're only going to focus on the limited license states. We don't have money to spend money everywhere. They left it for these local operators in Michigan. We found what we, Gage, I've known them for a while. We think they're one of the best operators in the state. And if you do well in a competitive state, it's because, you're good.
Yeah.
And people like your brands and things like that. It's not like, if you do well in a limited license state, it just means you were good at winning a license and you built a lot of capacity and you're selling a lot of stuff because you make a lot of stuff.
Right.
But in places like Michigan, you're selling a lot of stuff because people are choosing your products. Mm-hmm. So we felt like, first of all, Gage was this great brand and their relationships, like with cookies and stuff like that. We could take that into our other states where the markets were not necessarily as sophisticated and these brands would really stand out.
Yeah.
But not only that, in Michigan, what we love about it is there's no license caps.
Right.
So you can, we could own 150 dispensaries
that's
over time.
Important for people to understand that, right?
Yes.
And the sales and revenue that are generated in some of these dispensaries in Michigan are some of the best in the country, are they not?
Yes, and especially Gage store. The average basket size, which is tracked by the state in Michigan, Gage has double the average basket size than the average in the state. I think it's like 150.
They actually did a good job branding. Fabian's
160.
team did a good job there, right?
They've done a great job, and also it's a little bit of a different model. You haven't seen in a lot of other places where they're not forced to be vertical. Like in Florida, you have to be vertical.
Yeah.
In Michigan, you're not forced to, but they've only sold their own brand, the Cookies brand and the Gage brand, through their own stores. And you can do that when you can have an unlimited amount of stores. You can't do that in Jersey, for Jersey, which is going to be huge for us this year as well. We can only have 3 stores.
Yeah.
So we're going to limit our opportunity if we don't do a lot of wholesale to others, right?
Well, when you look at the basket size, if you can actually break through all the clutter and have key branding in this space, you get an early glimpse as to how big the opportunity is for these companies because, I don't have to say anything more about the Cookies brand, Gage as well.
Yeah.
I wonder how this looks from a pure marketing and branding aspect with this industry. Do you think one day we'll see brands on sports arenas and naming rights to stuff like that? You do think that's coming?
Yeah, I think it's closer than
really
than people might think. Yeah.
Let's talk about big day tomorrow, New Jersey.
Yeah. What do you think?
Excited?
Oh, I mean, it's like I woke up this morning and I thought about it when I first woke up and I was like, am I still dreaming or are we really here? I mean, it felt like it took a while.
Yeah,
we won the license in the summer of 18. The voters voted in November of 19.
Yeah.
I would have thought a rec would have started already, but it hasn't.
It's finally here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, November of 20 was when they voted for it. It's finally here. I am really happy that we decided to really prioritize it. It was our whole approach of wanting to be in a smaller number of states, but really have scale in those states. And that's what we did in Jersey. I think we have 3 of the best locations in terms of, one's like 100 yards from the bridge over from Pennsylvania in Phillipsburg. We have another one in Maplewood, awesome town where all the towns around it opted out.
Yeah.
And then Lodi and the you may have heard about the Bada Bing site.
Right.
That one will be opening hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So and there's only be 13 open.
Do you expect a lot of overflow from the state of New York?
Yeah, we think we're going to. The state of New Jersey, the last CRC meeting, they projected that half of all sales would be from out of state.
Seriously.
And and we're really close. We're like 11 miles from New York City.
Yeah.
Also the border to Rockland County and all of that. So we think we're going to get a lot of out-of-state business, and especially because we're going to have cookies there and the Gage products. And we're not going to sell cookies to other stores in the state. Probably not for a while. So they're going to have to come to us, similar to what Gage. We sort of learned that from how they did it in Michigan. So I think that the stores, I said it on our last call, these stores there's only going to be 13 open starting tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And there's not going to be a lot more for, say another 9 months or so.
Expect long lineups.
Yeah, if you believe that Jersey's got to be $1 billion market, even if you're just counting the residents of Jersey.
Yeah.
Divide 13 stores into a $1 billion market, and you're talking about some crazy numbers. we think that our stores can do, $40+ million in sales.
10 million people in New Jersey?
9 million. Yeah.
I looked at even some of the sports betting stuff. They're doing $5 billion a year in revenue.
Yes, and New Jersey is very dense.
Yeah,
it's like the most dense state in the U.S. So we're really pumped. The stores are gonna be some of the best stores, but we also have enough capacity that we're gonna be able to supply others as well.
Yeah.
The New Jersey allows you to get to 150,000 square feet of canopy, or at least the license that we have, not the newer ones. We're at like 42 right now. But we just leased a new facility, and we're gonna, we're working to get to that 150. Like, my view is the quicker you get there, the quicker you're gonna get paid back.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's gonna be the demand's gonna be really strong. There's not gonna be any other cultivation that hits the market for like another 2.5, 3 years, because any of the new licenses that were just recently given out, they're not allowed to sell rec until they sell medical for 1 year.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's big.
So we're looking like a 3 year sort of runway of
with good locations,
with awesome locations
and big brands.
Yeah.
Okay, time to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Safe banking.
I thought I avoided it earlier in the interview. Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh my God, is that question even being asked again?" I had Dan Aronson yesterday. He seems to think safe banking will pass at some point in this calendar year. I'm not going to say do you agree or disagree with him, but what's your take on, forget federal legalization, because that's probably years and years, but I don't think that's the major priority, and I think a lot of investors understand that.
Yep.
But what people are front and center and want to know, especially if it's somebody like yourself, what is your thoughts on it all? And I don't want to predict the future, but I have to ask that question. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah. So to start out, take whatever I say with a grain of salt, because when I started investing in Canada in 2014, I was sure it would be legal in the U.S. within 5 years, and I'm already off by several years on that. In terms of safe banking, I mean, I'm a little I focus less on it than a lot of other people, but I was out with some people last night, and some people who I know who are really smart think that there's a very good chance that it gets done
this year,
at some point this year.
Wow, that's exciting.
But then it's a matter of what does it have in it? Does it give enough
we all know,
safe
though,
harbor for U.S. listing?
If there's any language that suggests that it is going to pass and does pass, it's like the pure speculation you're going to see. Do you think this could eclipse? It will one day, but with what happened in Canada 6-7 years ago, do you not think that is a small sign of what we'll see as far as the overall growth of this industry in the U.S., because the market's just obviously so much bigger?
Yeah, the market's so much bigger, and maybe the U.S. could, we don't make the same mistakes that were made in Canada.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, and Canada's just different because of the whole government distribution.
Yes.
Taking a lot of the control, away from the actual,
and just a small market, right?
Market being smaller. The taxes are, I think one of the things we can look at in Canada and realize, like, the taxes are just too high. It's like hard for anybody.
Tell me about it.
Hard for anybody to make money other than the government.
Can you sponsor me so I can move down here?
But it's I mean, the U.S. and the U.S. is just such a vibrant cannabis market.
100%.
I mean, a ton of people I know in Canada smoke a lot of weed too.
Yeah.
But the U.S. is just it's the place to be.
100%.
It's got these amazing markets.
Look where we are.
Yeah, look at
this is nice.
It's like somebody mentioned to me a couple of years ago. They were talking about Germany, and this was when it was just medical. Now I know they've passed rec, I guess. But it was like, I mentioned to them in Pennsylvania had. We owned 20% of the Pennsylvania market.
Yeah.
Our 20% of the Pennsylvania market was more than 100% of the German market.
Seriously.
Yeah, and it's just because these U.S. states are very far along the curve in 100%. Terms of consumption and things like that. So I mean, the other thing you have to keep in mind is these limited license states, the consumers, the patients or the customers, they get up the knowledge curve so quickly that I think that's what started to happen here a little bit. Is like, if you were selling sort of crappy weed and you were able to sell everything that you could a year ago, now in a lot of these markets, the market won't tolerate that anymore.
They won't. They become sophisticated.
Yeah,
the industry's grown.
So I know you asked me more about safe. but safe. I think
You
probably
answered it.
later
You
in the
think
year,
it's
right?
Yeah, and I think that's encouraging to say. One last thing I wanted to ask. Germany reported today a spike in their PPI of 30.9%
Really?
in inflation, which is big. I know there's been talk at the actual convention this week talking about that, but, what's your take on it all? And does it have, obviously it's going to have some sort of impact on the industry. How do you counter, how do you handle that?
Well, I think that's what's, that's, on the macro side, I mean, it's not great for the stock market, right?
Of course.
When inflation is super high and the Fed doesn't have any room, where they still need, the Fed needs to raise rates as they have been. That's not usually a great combination for what's going to happen in the stock market. That being said, I take a little solace in saying, well, the market was great last year and all these cannabis stocks were a disaster. So maybe they're really, truly not very correlated. And they're not very correlated to the market. So I think the cannabis space can do well. In terms of the impact, other than the stock market impact of inflation, I would say we haven't seen any major impacts. Things are more expensive in terms of building a facility and stuff like that. But, we're not seeing cannabis, per gram prices.
No. But when you
inflating.
piece this together, if you did have some sort of legislation movement with safe banking, and everything else is just flat, it actually creates the perfect opportunity for this space later this year, don't you think?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. I mean, but again, I just try not to hang my hat on safe or anything, because it's just, it's like the more we all clamor for it, I don't know, the more I feel like we're setting ourselves up for
well, you've done some great transactions, obviously, and positioned yourselves as one of the top 5 MSOs, which a lot of people probably would agree. And big day tomorrow in New Jersey. I want to wish you best of luck.
Yes, thank you so much. And next time maybe we get this SUV up to Jersey, we can drive around in Maplewood and take it from dispensary to dispensary.
Forget dropping you off. It's road trip. We're going to New Jersey.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Take us 20 hours about.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.